We have a very special guest that's going to lead our speakers off, Dr. Casey Cockrell Stewart, who's the Assistant Director in the Career Center, but she also serves as an adjunct faculty member in the School of Education. And she has other titles that I'll let her explain, but anyway, thanks for being here.
We'll stop there.
All right, thanks, Casey.
Thank you. And of course, right as I start to speak, I'm going to have sinus issues. Okay. I'm going to start off how I do at orientation. How can Career Services help freshmen and transfer students now? So think about yourself as a freshman or a transfer student, and how can we help you right now? I know you're eating, so while you're in between bites, yes.
Helping choose majors.
Choose majors, right, good, thank you very much. Yes, that's one of the common things that we do, especially with freshmen and transfer students. Sometimes juniors and seniors, we help them choose their major. What else? Yes, Rachel? Resumes. Why is it important that freshmen see us to help them with their resumes? Wouldn't that be seniors? Yeah. Internships, exactly. Internships are becoming more and more important as the years go by. Used to, it was like, wow, you have an internship, that's great. You're kind of taking that extra step. That was about 10 years ago. Then about 6 years ago, it started changing a little bit. It was like, well, one internship is good. That's what you need to acquire. Now you're going to see as we talk today that one internship is standard. To be really competitive, our students need to be thinking about 2 or even more internships. And if not internships, they need to be thinking about some type of leadership activity, part-time job, job shadowing, something to help them stand out on their resume so that they can be competitive. So what else can we do to help them now? Yes, ma'am.
You can help identify experiences that will set them up for when they graduate.
That's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you so much. Identify experiences to help them when they get ready to graduate. If you get one thing through to your students when you're teaching them, it's not going to be necessarily the perfect resume, how to choose a major. We can do that. But the one thing that you have to stress to them is they need to come see us, and they have to come see us early. If they come see us their senior year, it's not too late, but there's so little that we can do at that point compared to what we can do if they come see us their freshman or sophomore year. Those experiences that they're going to have to acquire take time. You know, you can't just do an internship your spring semester of your senior year and think that, you know, that's all you need. You can't do study abroad, leadership activities, 2 internships, all in your senior year. And so while we still can help that senior that first shows up in our Career Center, we can really help the student who comes and sees us as a freshman or a sophomore. Now, those of you that are teaching transfer students and you have a few juniors in your class, don't scare them. We'll still be able to help them, okay, if you have any juniors that have transferred over. But really stress to those students, they need to make it a priority to come see us very soon, okay? All right, so I've got a few little cheesy videos and things to show you, and they're not showing. I wonder what's going on there. Hold on one second, let's see. Okay, it says loading content. Maybe it'll come back in a minute. Hopefully. Technical difficulties. It worked when I was at the, I may have to Google it. All right, so anyway, it was a cheesy video. I guess I can just explain it, but I really would like for the other videos to show up, so I may have to go back and kind of look at some of that. One of the things that I was going to show this video and kind of explain, it was a little cheesy video. It was actually very cheesy, and you'd have to give a disclaimer before you showed it in class. But it shows what to expect if you come see us as a freshman or as a sophomore in your first appointment, when you're in that exploratory stage and you're not quite sure what you're going to be doing. So what would you tell a student that comes to you and that says, I don't know what I want to do, I think I might go to the Career Center, what should I expect? What do you think we're going to do when they first get there? Okay, right. So most of you are giving the MBTI, right? That's part of the curriculum? Not anymore. Okay, that's good to know, because I usually tell students that. Okay, so are there any assessments in the curriculum then for the EDHE?
Via character strength.
Okay.
I don't know if that
It's probably not, it's good insight, but it wouldn't be exactly what they would need for choosing a major. So in the Career Center, we offer the MBTI and the STRONG assessments. The MBTI looks at personality and matches your personality with different career choices that could be a good fit for you. And the STRONG looks at your interests and matches those interests to different jobs that would really appeal to those interests. If a student is very confused and they're very stressed out about what they want to do, we recommend that they take both. Together, they're very powerful. You see some overlapping themes that start to present from the personality as well as their interest. If they kind of know and maybe they just really kind of want to look at one, we recommend the STRONG. To me, it's probably the most powerful for people trying to choose their major because it's going to give you a list of college majors, a list of activities to join and groups to join, internship settings, as well as a list of different occupations. And the pamphlet is like 18 pages long. So it's very, very helpful. We charge for very little in the Career Center. Those assessments, we do charge a very small fee just so that we can actually get it from the company. The MBTI is $20, and the STRONG is $30. So together they're $50. If somebody is having a hard time paying that fee, you as an instructor, you have the relationship with them. If you're referring them to the Career Center and you really think they would benefit from this, but financially they just maybe can't swing it, there are some opportunities that we can, waive that fee in those circumstances. So this very cheesy video that is obviously not going to load. I'm going to go back in just a minute and check it. But it basically had a counselor sitting down and was talking about the exploratory stage of being in that undecided phase. We try to stay away from undecided because that has a negative connotation. And it's really not a bad thing not to know what you want to major in freshman, sophomore year. That's a great time to explore. I know y'all know that, but it's important to encourage them. So we try as much as possible to use the word exploratory. That makes it sound positive, encouraging, it's motivating so that they can explore the options. And I know I'm probably telling you some of the things you already know. So then we would suggest the assessments. We would also talk about that once they take the assessments, we'll have a list that's narrowed down. Some students are disappointed that it's not a magic ball answer. The first semester I taught, I gave this test in class. I teach career and life planning for juniors and seniors. And I had a senior in my class, and most of them at that point pretty much know what they're going to do. But I had a senior in my class that was taught in the business school. And she seemed fine during class, and then after class is done, I walk into the hallway, and she's out there, and she is just so stressed, near tears. She's holding these pamphlets of paper, particularly the STRONG, and she is saying, this isn't what I needed. So what are you talking about? She said, it gave me too many options. I needed one thing. I needed to tell me exactly what I was going to do. So I always tell my students, it's not going to tell you exactly what you're going to do. It's going to give you some ideas. Probably wouldn't be a good thing if it told you exactly what to do. So from those assessments, we're going to come up with a list of things. And then after that, we're going to, do some research on different careers. So again, that's when you first initially start. From there, in your book, you'll see in the chapter it has a generic 4-year plan that pretty much applies to anybody in college. But one reason why we want the student to come in is we can make it very specific for them. So if they've already chosen their major, they come in, we give them ideas over what they can be doing freshman, sophomore, junior year so that they can be very competitive when they start to apply to either grad school or to jobs their senior year. If they haven't chosen the major, of course, we help them do that. Then we do the same thing for them. So when you're looking at your text, encourage them to look at that 4-year plan. It chunks it out. It helps them realize what they can be doing over a course of the next 4 years, 5. But tell them that if they come to the Career Center, we can make it specific for them. And of course, it's going to have to be edited and revised as they, go through their education. They may switch their major. Some other things may come up, some different opportunities. But it's so helpful for them to know they don't have to do it by themselves, because it's a very overwhelming process to think about it. And often we don't really hold our college students' hands too much. It's not very healthy to do that. But sometimes it's very healthy to have that guide. to be there to help them figure out what is that next step in the unknown. It's not that they're being needy, they simply just don't know what to do next. And so that's one thing that we really try to stress at the Career Center, that we're there to help them through that unknown. So how do we help y'all? And that's why I'm here. Of course, we have that chapter there, but how do we make it come to life for your students? And I know a lot of you in here, so I know a lot of you have already taught the class, probably several semesters. Maybe you're trying to get some new ideas of what may work to keep it fresh for the next semester. How many of you have never taught? Okay, handful, okay. So you may be generating some ideas today. You may already think about what you want to do. So this is going to be a good discussion maybe for you to get some ideas, and maybe you have some other ideas to offer a fresh perspective. But I'm going to turn it over to you for a second. What have you done in your class to highlight the career development chapter? And how have you used us? And how can we help you? Are there other ideas that we need to be aware of to help you? So I'm just kind of brainstorming session. Turn it over to you all for a second. Yes, Rachel.
I had someone come to my class to talk about resume and informational interviews. It was one of their assignments.
Yes, good. So one of the things that we do, quite common, one of probably our most common things that we're asked to do across the board, but especially in these classes, is to do the resume cover letter workshop, because that's going to be one of the assignments that's typically assigned. Do you feel like that was effective? Do you feel like it helped? Is there anything that we need to be aware of?
I did. Really what I wanted them to get was the informational interview.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something I did in grad school, but just to get them thinking about what it is to be a lawyer. We all have the concept of it, and they see the end result, but we don't really know because we're not in that profession. So the idea was to interview a lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
just get to feel about, or whatever their projected career path was, to get to ask those questions. What is it really like to do this? How did you get started in it? For someone starting out, what would you suggest? What do you wish you had known? What do you wish you had done to prepare better? So to get the inside scoop on that particular career.
That is perfect. And it gives me another idea that I didn't actually even put up here because I didn't think about it. I don't know how long y'all spend on incorporating different components of career development in your class, but one of the things that I do in my EDHE 301 class, the Career and Life Planning class, is very similar to what Rachel is talking about, and that is the Road Trip Nation project. Have any of you ever heard of Road Trip Nation? Yes, it's great, is it? You're smiling. Anybody that's ever heard of it is just like, it's a fantastic. Have you ever incorporated it into anything?
I just found it a couple of months ago, and so it is going to be incorporated quite
Great.
heavily.
Wonderful, wonderful. It is life-changing for students. At first, they're going to be like, what? Here's another project. But it is life-changing. It has always changed my students' lives. So what it is, a couple years ago, I went to a conference, and the founders of it actually were talking about it. Several students, very educated, they were like engineering, pre-med, very, very smart students, were graduating from undergrad, about to go into grad school or medical school or whatever, but they felt like maybe they just really didn't know what they really wanted to do with life. What really made people live a satisfied, fulfilled life. And so what they did is they maxed out all their maxed out all the credit cards they could get, not suggested, worked out for them. And they had, like, their parents had an old RV, so they fixed that up, made it really totally, what is MTV, Pimp My Ride, they totally pimped it out. And they went across country, and they interviewed all walks of life, from truck drivers to Bill Gates, and anybody they could get in to interview with. And the main thing that they wanted to interview people about is, well, what makes you happy in your career? So they filmed it. PBS picked it up and said, this is fantastic. It is now many years later. There are textbooks on it. There are, last year, I don't know if you saw the RV out in I think it was last year, out in the plaza. They were out there, trying to get Ole Miss students to try for it. But what it is they send college students out now every year to do informational interviews. It's a really cool take on informational interviews. And so what I do, and you can use this in your class, you don't even have to order the video, it's roadtripnation.com. I think it's .com. They have little clips of their, it's public TV, so they have all the clips of the episodes. Show a few episodes in class if you want to do this activity. This is how I do it. You may have some other suggestions. I put them in groups so they're not intimidated to go by themselves if they want to do it in groups. I have them choose 2 people that they're going to interview, and they go and they can film it if the people will allow them. They can take pictures. They have to show some type of proof that they were there. And I give them a suggested script of questions that they can ask. They're also required to write a thank you note, and I have to see a copy of that. When it was presented at the conference, it was presented for freshmen that were exploring majors. And I've adapted it to juniors and seniors, but it's fantastic. My juniors and seniors feel stressed out because even though they know their major, obviously, at this point, they still don't know if they're on the right path. And usually the themes that they hear over and over again are, I didn't know I was on the right path at your age either. And here are these successful people that they admire, and they're telling them the same fears that they had, and it makes them feel better. It's a great networking exercise. It's great, as Rachel said, if you really want to be a lawyer, then you get some, what is it really like as opposed to what you see on TV. One of the things I do is I have them present it. So they do a group presentation together, so all the stories are told. They get to hear all the stories. I love it. I get motivated from it every time I hear it. And then a couple years ago, the presentations were kind of starting to get kind of blah, so I turned it into a competition for points. So they get extra credit points. The whole class votes on it. They can't vote on their own team, but they get extra credit points if they win first or second place. And so what I saw was the quality of presentations went way up. They've become very secretive of who they're going to get to interview. And some of my students have gotten in to speak to both of our chancellors in the past several years. The coaches, I've had somebody Skype a Beverly Hills 90210 star in, Joey Lauren Adams, all kinds of people, all these local celebrities, Sam Haskell, all these great people they've never been able to meet. They get to go meet them, so it's this great opportunity. But the most impressive interview was when a group's interview fell through, and they didn't know what they were going to do. So they went to kind of regroup, no pun intended, at IHOP. And the waitress there was just this charismatic person and just so full of life, so full of great life advice that halfway through their meal, they're like, why don't we just interview them? The only requirement is they have to be happy. To this date, she gave the best advice. So it doesn't have to be somebody huge or famous or anything like that. But I could see in my class when she was talking about passion and determination and loving your job, you could just see a collective like, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. So I like that just brainstorming session here. I didn't know y'all were doing informational interviewing activities, but if you need more of that, I can share some of my documents with you. Just let me know. I'd be happy to do that. Did I mention anything that maybe you are not doing that you're thinking about incorporating?
No, because I haven't introduced it yet. I actually found that I teach 101 in the spring, so that's for folks on academic probation.
Right.
There's so much really good, it's not really advice, I guess, but so much more about don't, just because you didn't do what you thought you were going to do or weren't as successful as you thought you were going to be, it was really a great, it's a lot of them are really great to just listen to these people who are now very successful. John Legend in particular had a great interview about just keeping at it and not getting discouraged right away. The other thing I really liked about it was the diversity of people that are generally in it. They actually do one on diversity, and I really liked that one because they had a young lady from the Cherokee Nation. Cherokee? No, she was. She's a First Nation person, so Native American. Some folks who are Hispanic from the West Coast, one from the East Coast. I mean, they really had a great mix, and they talked about diversity and diversity in tech and how to, because tech is not very diverse, and
right.
That was a really great one on, how do you approach those types of specific topics.
Right.
But it was really, I think it's an amazing tool.
It is, and it's so positive and it's so encouraging. It's so encouraging, and it kind of flips the perspective on what is success, you know, and that it can be, it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, which we all know that, but when you're a stressed out college student, you need to hear that from as many different people as possible. So I really encourage y'all to do that. So that is something, you know, we offer the resume workshops, we offer the cover letter workshops that we can come in and teach, but we also can help you with doing any kind of informational interviewing activities as well. Mariana?
One thing I did this semester that I thought was helpful, I would always have them do a resume.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, as a freshman, they haven't done a whole lot on campus, so I would get their high school stuff, and a lot of sorority resumes, like glamour shots.
No.
What I did last semester was I had them do, not that this is for this one, but the resume for their assignment, because they weren't actually doing it, they already had it. And just
Right.
So last semester, I told them to create their pretend senior year resume
Yeah.
instead. And so they had to think about all of the things that they had to do during their 4 years of college, and they had to come up with a resume that they wanted that resume to be the resume they would start applying for jobs or for graduate school. And it was a lot better because it really made them think about all of the things they wanted to be involved in the next 4 years, if they wanted to do a study abroad. I said, if you want to do an internship, put your dream internship there, and the date that you want to do it. What's your dream GPA? What about your minor? And I felt like that was a lot more helpful, and they had something kind of like a goal for the next 4 years.
It's kind of like a map of what to do over the next 4 years. And in a way, it's like how I said about the 4-year plan, making it more specified to them. It's doing that. And it's more fun. Yeah. Okay, so I've heard of that. I actually heard of that activity. I think Leslie Banahan does it in her class as well. And used to, when I would teach the resume workshop and the cover letter workshop to freshmen and sophomores, I'd really stress about how, of course, high school stuff has to start falling off, which is very unnerving to them, and college stuff starts getting put on. Well, as freshmen, especially when you're teaching them first semester, they don't have anything yet to put on it. So what you're really trying to do is teach them the basics of resume writing, and so that they can apply that, in their sophomore year or whatever when they start to apply for internships. But what I feel like happens with this activity that Mariana was talking about is that you teach them the basics of resume writing, but you are also digging deeper at that career development component. So I think the students are more engaged. I think that they're more willing to do it, and they're not turning in the resumes they turned in for scholarships for, getting into the university. So I love that. I think you probably had more fun looking at that too. Now, one little side note there, if you have one of our services that we offer at the Career Center is to have your students turn in a resume or cover letter to be critiqued. We have a critique service, if you didn't know that. If you have them do that, one of the things that we all need to know is that the parameters of that assignment. So they need, you need to give us a heads up, or they need to put a note on their resume, like a sticky note, or tell somebody when they drop it off, because our peer career educators look at those resumes, and they're going to look at the date that they're graduating and what year it is now, and they're going to start tearing it up, like, you're lying on this thing. So because they're not used to seeing that. So and they may think they're really trying to submit this somewhere. So just give us a heads up, and I'm supervising the peers, so I'll let them know, what to expect. Another thing, teachers, do any of y'all require that they use the service, the critique service in your class? Some of the upper level classes do require that. They require that they drop it off with a critique service and then have it edited, and then they they turn in the resume that's been critiqued. If you do that, our peak times, we get really busy. We try to turn around the resumes within 24 to 48 hours, but if it's a peak time, it could be 72 hours before we could get it turned around. So if it's on a deadline, your students need to know that, because sometimes the students will show up the day before their assignments due, and it's just not going to happen because we go in order of when it's turned in. So that's an option, to get them into the Career Center. You can have them turn it in as a critique, to get critiqued. All they do is go to the front desk and they drop it off. It's real easy. Gets them in the Career Center. Anytime you can get them in there, it helps. So what else do y'all do? I think that's fantastic. If I was teaching 105, I think I would start doing that too. Yes, Stewie?
In years past, y'all would have a little workshop in the Career Center, particularly focused on internships.
Right.
Is that still an option?
Yes. So some of the typical workshops, like I said, with resume and cover letter, and then we do a Career Center overview. And a lot of times, with especially this particular class, it can be tied into the internship workshop. The Career Center overview is only going to last about 15 minutes, unless your students have a lot of questions, and that's probably not the case with most of our students at this level. So that's going to last about 15 minutes. So it's more productive if you kind of tie that in with an internship overview as well. We have an internship coordinator. She's a graduate student, second year graduate student, and she does the majority of those presentations. She would also be the person most likely that if your student made an appointment to just look for internships, they would be seeing her. So that helps with them seeing them in that classroom setting and then, back as an appointment. With the orientation, the Career Center orientation, and, a lot of times internships, if you're doing one of these workshops, we really encourage to see if you can do it in the Career Center because it helps for you to take the student over there. We don't think we're intimidating, but a lot of times because it is a counseling center, it is intimidating to students to come in for the first time. But if they come in, they have a good experience as a class, they're more likely to come back. So it's a good orientation to bring them in, help them see the Career Center. The Career Center orientation presentation goes a lot better when they're actually sitting in the physical space and can see it. And then they can go right into that internship workshop. Now, if you don't want to do that or if you don't want to do it the same day, we do have just that internship workshop. And you can have Maria just come to your class at any given point. Maybe there's a time where you're not going to be there and you need a sub or something like that. She's excellent at her presentation. She gears it towards whatever class she's talking to and really helps freshmen understand that they can start applying for internships now. So that's key, is that they can start applying early.
Who should they direct an inquiry about setting up a time to physically come? Because I very much believe taking them to the Career Center is better than having somebody from the
Yeah.
Career Center come to the class with.
Great question.
What's the-
So EJ Presley is now over our outreach. So if you will contact EJ, you can just call the Career Center at 7174 and ask to speak to EJ. Or a peer actually can you're going to have to give them 3 dates. And your first choice, second choice, and third choice, and then that initial call, you can tell them that you want it in the Career Center. That's an option. If you contact EJ directly, he can just email you the sheet that you fill out. It's ej@career.olemiss.edu. And I really encourage you, I know you're probably still working on your syllabus, but because we do have a lot of employers and a lot of traffic through there, that space at the Career Center does fill up quickly. So if this is something you want to do at the beginning of the semester, in the next week or so, you need to go ahead and contact us so that we can make sure that space is reserved for you. Yes, Rachel?
You mentioned your peak times. Is there, like, I know for us, it's October is a really, so what's
Yeah.
your peak time in the Career Center?
It's not December. So it depends. It kind of ebbs and flows, but it really is going to be August through the beginning of November 1st. But we'll still try our very best to accommodate whatever you're needing because we're here for y'all, and I mean it's critical that we're doing what we can for y'all. So with that in mind, the earlier you contact us, again, we'll make it happen. And we speak all the time in August and September and October. It's just harder if it's a last minute request. Okay. All right, so we've talked about the workshops. We take internship appointments, okay? We can help you with providing you resources. On the bottom of your sheet, there are some of the websites that I highly encourage that are very informative that will help you. Ours is one of them. The NACE website is on there. For some of the NACE, that's the National Association of Colleges and Employers. For some of the NACE things, you have to be a member to get into, but not any of the really good, like, kind of general career development articles. So that's still there. And then ONET is an occupational handbook online. It's interactive and it's updated very frequently. So like a student can pick if you have a job assignment and you want them to pick a job that they want to do, they can use that as part of their research. So they would go to that website and they would type in their job title. It'll talk about what the job description does, what kind of education they need. And I love the outlook because it tells you, are you going to be able to be hired in this job? What does the future look like? I mean, are there going to be jobs 5 years down the road when I'm ready for a job? So that's important. And that also helps them get as much information as possible so that they can be competitive. So it's a good website. It's kind of bland, but it's very informative as far as that website goes. Let's see, did I cover much? Anything else y'all use us for that maybe I didn't mention? Or anything else that didn't work that you need help with that you want to admit? Yes, Rebecca.
I really liked what you personally did, our presentation where went over the strong, and I know we're not doing that this year, but the strong and the MBTI when you went over the results, especially my undeclared section. They told me that they absolutely loved your presentation, and that was their favorite part of the class. And they're like, this just makes so much more sense with their careers. And I know a few of my students made follow-up
Yes.
appointments.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. Thank you. And that's another thing. We love to speak to students because it seems like if we can get in front of them, the ones that really need to come see us pretty soon, they'll make that follow-up appointment. You know, we'll bring our cards, they'll email us, say, hey, I really do want to come see you. And that to me shows that we're doing what we need to do, you know, that they're not afraid anymore. They want to come and they reach out to us. All right, let me check my time real quick. Am I good? Let me minimize this and see if, I guess these videos just aren't going to show. I'm sorry, y'all. Well, y'all can see most of them. They're at the bottom. I do want to say one of them, they're all short, you know, so you can use them as a supplement to some of the things that you're introducing. Let me look at what y'all are looking at. The why are internships so important? I think it's a minute, 40 seconds, and it really helps them understand how most people these days are getting hired through internships. So I think it's just a quick little drawing type little video, just informative, easy to digest kind of video. So I think that's a good one. My story, internships changed my life. How many of you have heard of the internship queen? A few, yes, okay. She was a little more popular a few years ago than she is now, but still doing great work. She's appeared on the Today Show. She has a book. She came here a few years ago and spoke. She is loud and over the top and funny, but I think she's still very relevant to our students. She says things sometimes I don't always agree with, but for the most part, she gives good advice. And her story, though, how she became the internship queen, is when she was a student at Florida State, she acquired 15 internships over her course of her college education, which is unheard of. I don't even know how she did it. She explains it in the book, but 15 internships and how that has shaped her life. And so she's definitely an internship advocate. Like I was saying at the beginning of the talk, 10 years ago or so, which is about when she was in school, 12 years ago, internships were like, wow, you have one, that's great, get one. But now it's becoming so critical that things have changed in how we approach it in career services. So if you show this video here, please write this down. Please make this a disclaimer. The My Story one, wanted to show it to you, but the My Story one, she starts off talking about when she went to her Florida State Career Center as a freshman, and they told her that she couldn't come back for an internship appointment until her senior year. So that is not what I want the freshmen to hear. So the rest of the story is really good, so that's why I included the video. Florida State has a fantastic career center, so I'm sure their policies have changed since then, and that was just her take on it. Probably what was really said, those competitive, highly competitive internships are usually reserved for juniors and seniors, but that doesn't mean that we can't find a freshman or sophomore an internship. It may not be the most glamorous one, but we can get you in somewhere, especially if you come early and start with us early. So the disclaimer is, that was maybe their policy several years ago, and that's probably what they meant then, and maybe it still is with Florida State, but our policy is not that way. So if you show that, that could be a good time to introduce, hey, we don't feel that way. We want you to come see us. And if you have Maria come talk, our internship coordinator, she will also reiterate that point. We would like to see you early rather than later. And for some freshmen, it could be overwhelming to think about an internship. They're still going to be successful if they try for their sophomore years. There's going to be more opportunity in their sophomore year, but you still have those few ambitious ones that want to hit the ground running. I had several parents ask me about internships during orientation. So you still, you're going to have a few of those. So it's a good video because she talks about after that part, and it's only 4 minutes, I think, long. She talks about her 15 internships, how some were good, some were not, but they all showed her what she wants to do. And then she contributes that experience to where she is now. Okay. The other two, I think resumes and cover letters, frankly, can get really dry just talking about them, lecturing about them. I mean, that's probably not the most exciting thing to lecture about. It's critical, but it's not even my most fun topic to talk about. So I have to come up with ways to make it very interesting. And so I try to do activities. I think the idea that Mariana had was great. And I also try to show videos that are fresh and relevant to kind of keep it light for them and really to stress a few points. So if you had me come speak in your class, chances are you would probably see one or two of these videos. If not, you could use this as a supplement. One of them, again, is going back to the intern queen. She has a lot of different videos if you just want to check her out. She's got a lot of different resources. And then the other one is a different take on the 5 steps to a cover letter. So it's really good and it's interesting. And it's just somebody talking, but it's not very dry. It's very interesting. A little confusing note there. The one with the cover letter, I think she is in England. And abroad, everywhere except for the U.S., they call resumes CVs. So you may have to kind of clear that up with your students if they hear her say CV. Okay? Questions on any of that? I'm sorry I can't show the videos. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any particular software or templates that you use for resumes?
Well, we used to have a software program where we did the resume that they could enter all their resumes and stuff. Students weren't using it. They were getting frustrated with it, so we did let that go. So we have some examples online that we use. We are converting to Handshake. So if any of you have ever used our career services database before with EmployUM, that will no longer be. We'll have Handshake. So they may have something incorporated into that. But right now we don't have just something that they can use. We used to have a thing called Optimal Resume, but nobody really uses it. Now we do have an interactive software called Interview Stream for interview. So if your students have a interview coming up for an internship or even a leadership activity, it will record them, and as long as they have a webcam, they can do it on their cell phone, anything, and play it back, and it'll actually have questions that they can ask, and then you can get you can see yourself answering the questions. There's a function on there as well where they can email it to the professor so the professor can see it. So you can check that out. It's on our website. There are a few technical difficulties with it. I teach business communications online, and I had them do that as an option for an assignment, the interview stream. I had a lot of technical difficulties with that. They said they're working with it, but sometimes I couldn't see the students. So if you're using that for an assignment, tread lightly on that. Make sure that your students kind of do a dry run through that, and the technical difficulties aren't as present as they were last semester. I've used it, just played it around with it, and it's great though. But that's really, as far as like a template, we really discourage they use any type of Word templates. They're impossible to edit once they get them in there, and it looks kind of generic. So if they are struggling with actually formatting, how to format a resume, that is what our peer career educators are there for. They don't have to have an appointment. They can walk in and say, can you help me set this up? We have computers in the Career Center, and they'll pull up a Word document and they'll help them set it up. Okay. All right. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sorry.
One conversation I have with students about internships, and one thing I've heard students say is that sometimes they're not too particularly keen on working for free sometimes.
Right.
One, what is your response when students say that? And two, do you find that students do find paid internships, and are there a lot of them?
Yes. Okay, so it's changing now. The U.S. Department of Labor has now put forth a lot of legal parameters for unpaid versus paid because they felt like interns were not being protected and doing stuff for companies that really they needed to be paying people to do. And so companies are having to be very careful. Now, a lot of companies are still kind of ignorant to this new law and they don't mean to, but they're still offering these unpaid internships and they're really not supposed to be. But for the most part, because of those new laws, things are changing and every year we're seeing more and more paid internships. Basically, very simply put, if an intern is doing anything that you would normally pay somebody to do, they have to be paid. So you are seeing some type of stipend or payment that is being put forward. Now, those internships still are not probably as pervasive as the unpaid ones because I think they can kind of get away with it with academic credit if they get offered academic credit. But again, it's that you're going to have more options if you start early. So if you have a student that really wants an internship, those competitive deadlines are going to be up between November and February. So they're going to need to come see us early in the fall semester so that we can help them do the search, get them ready, help them with their resumes, that kind of thing, so that they can compete for the ones that could potentially be paid. So we try to work with that. And then, that's another thing too. Some of our students, they want to take an internship. Maybe it is paid, but they still can't really afford the cost of living. For whatever reason, personal reason, they can't get out to where the internships are. So that's when we start trying to find local opportunities or opportunities in their town that they're going back to. And so it doesn't always have to be titled internship to qualify as experience. We use that word because it's just a good catch-all, but a great part-time job in their field might work. Even if it's working, more the clerical aspect of it, it's still in their field and networking. Job shadowing and volunteering can be huge. A lot of times you can get more responsibilities with volunteering that you can with a part-time job, so we can sometimes find opportunities through that as well. So again, it's individual and what they need, but short answer to your question, yes, we are seeing more paid internships. And I'm stuck to the table. There's like Velcro or something here. Okay. All right. I think we're almost done. So, without the videos, that was pretty much it. But I want to make sure, just to kind of recap, just when you're thinking about what you're wanting to do for your students as for career development, really get them thinking about it now. We are not just for seniors, and really stress that to them, that we want to see them now. We're there for them now. Every resource on this campus is pretty much there from day one, and so they just don't really understand that career services is the same way. Stress to them what can be done now to help them accomplish their goal, because they're all here for some goal. It may change along the way. They may not know exactly what it is yet, but we want to be a part of helping them succeed. And again, we're here for y'all to help you with any resources. If you have questions, I didn't bring my card, but let me give you my email address. Of course, the phone number is 7174, and my email address is Casey, CASEY, at career.olemiss.edu. So, oh, never mind. Well, there you go.
You're so far ahead of yourself.
I made that a while back. Didn't look at it. There you go. Hey, I found one ahead of time. So anyway, before I close, any questions, anything else, any other suggestions? I hope I gave a good overview in spite of the technical difficulties. Y'all can all go check out the videos later. They're fun. All right. Well, thank you.